Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for clicking on this week's episode of Smashy Smashy Eggman movie reviews and more. We're at the final week. It's the end of October. Happy Halloween season to you all. And we're talking our final animal attack movie. We've covered... I should know, off the top of my head, 10 animal attack movies already. We have one more, and that is one of my favorites. I love this movie. It's so bad, it's amazing. This week, I'm talking about the classic 2002 film, Eight-Legged Freaks, starring David Arquette, Carrie Wool, who's actually an Anaconda as well. She plays, in Anaconda, she played one of the researchers who gets killed. We also have Dougie Doug, and a very young Scarlett Johansson. She was about 17, 18 when this movie came out. This is pre-Black Widow, which is funny because it's a movie about spiders, and she'd go on to get famous playing a character named after a spider. Alright! I love this movie. I've already said it. This is one of my favorites, and I'm glad I'm ending on this high note of a monster attack feature. So, what is Eight-Legged Freaks, and why has nobody watched this movie? Eight-Legged Freaks tells the story of a barrel of radioactive waste. It's a very simple story, really. That barrel of waste falls into a river. Some crickets start eating the waste, and they start to grow big. But this isn't a movie about crickets, because those crickets are collected by a person who runs a spider zoo. It has a more official term. I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. He then feeds his spiders these radioactive crickets, and much like the crickets did, the spiders start to grow. We then meet one of our main characters, who is the youngest son of one of our main characters, who just loves going to this spider place. He is one of the best customers at this spider place. So obviously, the person who runs the place has to explain to him what each type of spider is. Because because their best customer needs to be constantly reminded about the things he's interested in. Plot. I love this movie. I'm going to say that again. Plot. So we meet our villains. The slightly bigger, not quite huge, just a little bigger spiders. And, you know, they range from it. You have jumping spiders, you have your common arachnid, you have a tarantula, and you have trapdoor spiders are the ones who, orb weavers are your normal silk spinning spiders, or web spinning spiders. So we meet our spiders as our young hero exits the arachnid zoo. The owner is attacked by a loose spider and is killed. We then jump a month into the future because our spiders have to have time to grow. David Arquette is now on his way back into town. He left town 10 years earlier because he beat the crap out of a guy but didn't want to tell his wife that he loved her and that he beat the crap out of her husband because he was cheating on her. But he's coming back into town because his dad just died and he wasn't at the funeral. He goes to a town meeting where the mayor is trying to talk the town into selling all of their land, so the mines that are on the land that used to make the town of prosperity prosperous can be used to store toxic waste. This doesn't go over well because either everybody sells or nobody sells, and David Arquette, who plays Chris McCormick, that's the character's name, shows up and says he's not selling the mines. He's not selling the land that he got from his father's death. So there's no way this deal is going through. The townspeople are upset because they wanted the money, but now they can't have the money. Chris then gets into an argument with the mayor when the sheriff, Sam, who is the woman Chris is in love with, and is played by Carrie Wool, steps in between them. Her daughter, played by Scarlett Johansson, makes inappropriate statements to her mother about how she was checking out David Arquette's ass. Bet you Courtney Cox liked that line. Well, at the time, anyways. Moving right along. The next day, David Arquette, Chris, I'm gonna go back and forth on these, on his name, goes to visit Sam to tell her what happened, but he's unable to. Scarlett Johansson goes off to get felt up by her boyfriend as the small kid tries to go back out to the arachnid farm to find out why he can't contact his much older friend. He sneaks away to the arachnid farm by walking because his mother handcuffed his bike to a water heater. He gets there and sees a lot of webbing and no sign of his friend, but he does find an exoskeleton of a spider leg in going into the mines. He's picked up by Chris, who's now sending miners into the mines to find a gold vein that his father swore he found before he died. One of the miners is killed by spiders. Chris picks up our young hero. Honestly, I don't remember this character's name. I don't even know who the actor is. And he is told about the spiders, but he doesn't listen to the kid because that's what happens in these movies. The child knows what's happening, and no adult will listen. Scarlett Johansson decides she doesn't want to get felt up by her boyfriend and tases him in the crotch. Spiders then attack, and her boyfriend drives off on a motorbike while we have a chase scene where he kicks spiders in the air from his motorbike. Very exciting. Very exciting. David Arquette goes home to find out that his Aunt Gladys has been abducted by spiders, and now believes the child, so he rushes back to Sam's house to find out what's going on. We then get 18-year-old Scarlett Johansson in a towel, and she'll wear this towel for about the next 10 minutes. As David Arquette talks to the small boy about the spiders, Sam stands mesmerized because no one will actually tell the sheriff of this town what the hell is going on. Scarlett Johansson is attacked by a spider in her towel and is saved by her mother shotgunning a spider. They then call the deputy, who gathers up the guns, including one that is referred to multiple times as the Lee Harvey Oswald gun. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a replica of Lee Harvey Oswald's gun, or if it's supposed to be the actual gun, but everyone just calls it the Lee Harvey Oswald gun. He loads them into his squad car and drives off. Now, I did forget that his wife, the deputy's wife, had left him because a spider snuck into their house and fought their cat and got electrocuted with the cat. They say he ate the cat. The spider ate the cat. But there was definitely electrocution. An electrocution happened. Both animals got electrocuted. I watched this movie. Both animals got electrocuted. Moving right along. The deputy shows up at the house, and we get a nice box of Claritin showing that Scarlett Johansson takes care of her skin. The random things you notice on I don't know how many viewing of a movie. They drive off to the crazy nut who has a radio station because the phones are down from the car chase, well, the spider motorbike chase, and they need to use his radio to warn the townspeople because these spiders are mainly nocturnal, except for the ones that have been attacking all day. The spiders invade the town and begin killing people as people try to get to the mall, as a tarantula attacks the radio station, turning it over after being shot with a full clip of bullets. It doesn't kill it. I don't know if tarantulas have extremely thick exoskeletons, but apparently a clip of bullets, not enough to put down a tarantula. Giant tarantula. They all arrive at the mall and we get a crappy Spider-Man joke. That's right, they're spiders, man. Or no, what is that? Spider, man. It's a bad joke. This movie has some good comedy, and I'll get to that in a second. Not going into the comedy, but it's talking about that. It has good comedy. We're just getting into the comedy. I'm going to keep talking. So, they think they'll be safe in the mall, but of course the tarantula shows up, and he wants in, and when a giant tarantula wants in, no steel doors are keeping a giant tarantula out. They also realize they could use a cell phone to contact help, but the only way is to climb on the radio tower on top of the building. So our conspiracy theorist DJ, Dougie Doug, and David Arquette climb to the top of the radio tower as spiders swarm them. David Arquette gets a hold of the police and tells him the truth, because that'll get help. We're being attacked by giant spiders. They'll send people right away. They're not going to think you're crazy, David Arquette. You're a dumbass. Dougie Doug's afraid of heights, but apparently broadcasts his own radio transmission through this antenna. How he hooked this up, nobody knows. Dougie Doug then decides to sacrifice himself to help David Arquette. This leads to him falling off the building in front of our sheriff, in front of the deputy, who then run away together. David Arquette is still swarmed by spiders, so he jumps down a air shaft where the spiders don't apparently follow him. Inside the building, the spiders get in and begin killing people, so they all run to the basement, where there's a big-ass metal door that connects to the mine. But our mayor has already beaten him to it and locked it from the other side, because he's a jackass. The mayor runs into his son, who also happens to be Scarlett Johansson's boyfriend, who's been running away from the spiders all day in the mines, riding his motorbike, which apparently hasn't ran out of gas. Eventually, the mayor gets dragged off to be feasted on by the spiders, hopefully, as his son uses a forklift to knock down the big metal door, allowing all of our heroes to escape into the mines. Now, I've skipped over a part that makes absolutely no sense for how this movie works out, and that is Chris in the air shaft being released by Sam, because simply the logistics of this scene make no sense. Because Sam is supposed to be heading for the basement, and Chris is in an air shaft that's clearly visible in an earlier shot leading to the roof access. How she got there and why she's there, nobody knows, but it's eight-legged freaks, baby, and David Arquette said the word, said the line. I love this movie. In the mines, David Arquette informs everyone that the best way to find a way out is to follow the power cables, because they'll lead to a generator, which is outside of a mine. Pretty sensible. Along the way, they find the mayor, who's only been cocooned and not eaten because apparently the jackass needs to survive. David Arquette decides he's going to go find his Aunt Gladys somewhere cocooned, either dead or alive, but decides that the best way to stop the spiders is to smash a light bulb and tell them to turn the generator on when they get outside. Everyone manages to get outside without running into any more spiders, except David Arquette, who finds his Aunt Gladys as the only survivor, because apparently the giant queen spider didn't want to eat an old woman who's been there half a day. But the old woman survives. He then takes her matches and shoves them into the light he broke and drives off on the motorbike that apparently never runs out of gas. As he's being chased by Consuela, the giant spider, all the other little spiders begin to chase after them as well. Outside, in the generator room, it has no gas. And apparently every gas can is empty, because idiots in a mine don't keep full gas cans near a generator. Also, a motorbike never runs out of gas, but the generator does. They find out all they need to turn on the generator is a simple spark, so Scarlett Johansson produces the taser! She's called a genius, and the machine is tased to life. The machine is tased to life, which sets off the chain reaction of a giant explosion that kills Consuela and all the other spiders. Let's chalk that up. One more explosion. One more explosion. Yep, we get more explosions. The entire mall explodes because of the toxic waste that's been stored underneath it also being blown up. The mayor cries because his mall has exploded, and he's probably going to jail. As the army shows up with Dougie Doug and the deputy, who came because they heard Dougie Doug's broadcast. That's why they came. Not because somebody called and said there were giant spiders, but because the conspiracy theorist said there were giant spiders on his radio show. Chris and Sam kiss, and the movie ends. Eight-legged freaks. Like I said, I really do enjoy this movie. There's a reason I have a Blu-ray copy of it. I didn't buy it just to review it. I bought this movie on Blu-ray right away when it came out because I genuinely wanted a high-def copy. Oddly enough, I watched it when this Blu-ray came out, which was barely a year ago. And I also have a VHS from my VHS collection. of this movie. Though I never owned it on VHS back in 2002. By that point, I already upgraded to DVD. I don't have my DVD anymore because that went away when I got the Blu-ray. But that was the same DVD. I always owned the same copy of this movie. My mom came home one day from Walmart shopping and just knew I wanted this movie, so she had bought it for me. It was really cool. I'd seen it in theaters with my brother and my cousin because they really wanted to go see this really bad movie about the giant spiders and David Arquette, and I'm like, I'll go see it. Again, much like Bats, this movie was advertised heavily during Monday Night Raw, which I was still watching regularly in 2002. So I saw so many trailers for this movie. I was genuinely interested in it. So we went and saw it, and they got a good laugh watching what they considered to be a bad movie, and I fell in love with what I considered to be a decent movie. Now, does it have great graphics? No. Some of the CGI is dodgy at best in this movie. But luckily, this movie is more comedic than anything else, so the dodgy CGI actually kind of helps push this movie forward, makes this movie feel better than what it should. It shouldn't feel this good, but it does, because there's that comedic element. The spiders make way more noise than I think spiders should, and it's definitely done for comedy. This is much like Bats. This is another movie that wants to turn its creatures into like a gremlin kind of monster. And I love gremlins, so I want to see more movies try to create monster gremlins. They don't talk, but they don't do anything weird. It's just their noises, and their noises make it more comical, honestly, for me. But again, the CGI isn't great. I mean, every spider in this movie is basically CGI. Some of them look fine. There is a scene where we got spiders crawling down a wall that looks fine, except there's smoke, and apparently whoever did this, because it was in the background of a 2002 movie, they didn't take the time to make sure the spider stayed on the wall. So as the spider is crawling down the wall, and it's two of them, as they're crawling down this wall, they eventually hit where the smoke is, and instead of going behind the smoke, they start crawling down the smoke. So it's not great CGI. It's the first time I've noticed that CGI problem in this movie. It just happened. I caught it when I was watching it. But yeah, overall, I like this movie. It is a great animal attack film. It's a lot of fun, and it's David Arquette. And honestly, David Arquette in the late 90s, early 2000s, those are movies worth checking out. I haven't talked about it on this channel much, but Ready to Rumble is a great time. Not a great movie, just a really good time. And I might have to cover it at some point down the line. So yeah, I recommend it, Legged Freaks. Again, we come to our final total of exploding creatures. So, let's work through the last 8 weeks and figure out how many exploding creatures do we have. Well, we opened up with Deep Blue Sea that ends with a shark exploding. So that's one. We followed up with Anaconda, which has a shark get blown up, and then which has a snake blown up and then subsequently decapitated. So that's 2. We saw Bats, where we saw a lot of bats get blown up. We're at 3. We followed that up with Arachnophobia, which has a very small spider explosion, barely a spider explosion, but that spider, it still blew up. That's 5. We're at 5. We then hit the Piranha series. Now, I'm only going to allow this one to count as 1 point, even though multiple movies in this franchise ended with exploding piranha. But multiple 3 out of 4 movies end with exploding piranha, so we're at 6. Lake Placid, we watched an alligator explode. That puts us to 7. Congo, oddly enough, we have no giant killer apes exploding. Sad. And 8-Legged Freaks, we get a lot of spiders going bang. So, of the 8 movies we've covered over the last 8 weeks, or the 7 movies in the one franchise we've covered, 7 of them have the animals exploding at the end, and only 1 doesn't. That's weird statistics. I kind of wish Congo just had a monkey explode, or an ape explode, or the hippo explode. I wish I had something explode, just so I could put it on the counter. But I can't, so I'm not. So yeah, that was when Animals Attack. That was a fun 2 months. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed revisiting these movies and checking them out and getting to talk about them. It was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed them. Next week we hit November. Oh, we're so close to the end of the year. And I'm going to be talking about William Shakespeare. Not just William Shakespeare. I'm going to cover some William Shakespeare, some movies based on the works of William Shakespeare, plus two things that are actually just inspired by the works of William Shakespeare. So that's going to be the next 5 weeks is Shakespeare Month, which I just decided to call it that, and it's definitely not going to be tagged as that because I don't feel like retagging things. Which, yes, I know it sounds like it means I've already shot some of these because I already shot some. But anyways, we're moving on to Shakespeare Month. Shakespeare Month will take us right in to my 3-year anniversary of the channel. And this year, I've decided to talk about my favorite movie of all time to celebrate the 3-year anniversary and go through some of the stuff I have just off camera over here that I have picked up over the years from this movie. And then we're going to finish off the year doing some unconventional Christmas films. So like, comment, subscribe so you don't miss any of this. I just laid out the rest of my calendar for you so you know what to expect as you keep clicking on Smashy Smashy Eggman, movie reviews, and more. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you come back next week. It's going to be a good time. I'm Martin Prevost. This is Smashy Smashy Eggman, movie reviews and more, and I will talk to you next week. Have a good one.